Getting the NBA draft right is extremely difficult, and as a result, there is not a single draft class you can look at that you wouldn't make changes to almost immediately following the selections. And that can be the case even as early as a draft class that was just 2 seasons ago. So in today's video, I wanted to tackle the 2020 NBA draft, redo it, and go in the order that it should have been to the teams that the players should have gone to. And if you end up enjoying this video, I'm trying to make a series out of it. So seriously, drop a like on this one if you're going to want to see more. But let's get into the 2020 draft revisited and corrected. Before I continue on with this video, if you end up enjoying it, then please be sure to subscribe. Seriously, it's a win-win. I get a subscription from you. You get more NBA content, as it's really the only way you're going to see it in your sub box is if you subscribe to the channel. Also, drop a like on this video. It only takes 1 second and makes a massive difference. I realize YouTubers can be annoying with the asking of it, but we only do it because seriously, it makes a massive difference. With the #1 overall pick, the Minnesota Timberwolves are still taking Anthony Edwards. I understand that Ant versus LaMelo is a contentious debate, and I can absolutely understand if you would personally take LaMelo #1, but for me, I feel like Anthony Edwards just has a mildly higher ceiling, and frankly, I just like Anthony Edwards more. So I'm going to take him #1 to the Timberwolves. I think that pick remains the same in hindsight. Also worth mentioning, not that you don't draft LaMelo for this reason, but D'Angelo Russell already being there as your initiating point guard and the fact that the Timberwolves did give up a first-round pick to acquire him, it is worthy of note that it would be redundant and you'd then have to trade D'Lo, whereas like D'Lo and Ant is probably better than just LaMelo and whatever assets you would get for D'Lo, if that makes sense. Then obviously #2, we have the biggest what if of this draft thus far, and that is LaMelo Ball to the Golden State Warriors. It's very well documented that it would be very interesting to see what the Warriors actually do with LaMelo Ball. They've actually almost been convenienced with James Wiseman's injury stuff that they haven't figured out what they have to do with him, and the fact, of course, that he is not potentially clashing with what they do, because LaMelo's play style can interject with what the Warriors' play style is, and it's not necessarily a seamless fit, and that of course is the justification that the Warriors made for passing on him originally. We understand that LaMelo's probably a better prospect than James Wiseman, but James Wiseman fits a lot better with our team. In hindsight, that was a mistake. They should have taken the best player available, and whether he exists on the Warriors going forward or he is a trade chip, either way, that would have been the right decision. With the #3 pick, Hornets fans can rejoice because while they are losing a really good point guard in LaMelo, they're getting a pretty damn good one back in Tyrese HALIBURTON. Honestly, I'm so high on Tyrese HALIBURTON, I actually don't think he's going to be that much worse than a peak LaMelo Ball. But all of that said, like, Tyrese is the truth, and Hornets fans should still be relatively happy with this outcome. He's one of the better playmakers in the league. He's a really good three-point shooter. The only thing is sometimes a questioning of his wiring and his aggressiveness, but in terms of just pure capability as a point guard, Tyrese HALIBURTON is a fantastic prospect. Like, knockdown shooter, pretty damn good defender, pretty damn good shot creator, really good off of the drive, although he avoids contact a little bit too much, but the passing is absolutely there. Might not be as fun as LaMelo, but I don't know that he's as much worse than LaMelo as some people might act like he is. With the #4 pick, the Chicago Bulls select Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese is an absolute stud for the Philadelphia 76ers, and personally to me, one of the most fun players in the game. And at the time of the Bulls actually making this pick, most Bulls fans were really rooting for a point guard. In fact, I was really hoping that this pick would end up being Killian Hayes, and when it ended up being Patrick Williams, I was quite upset and made a rant video about it at the time. But obviously, in hindsight, Patrick was a better pick than Killian Hayes. But regardless, Tyrese Maxey would have been a fantastic pick. I also know among my draft guys, because I'm friends with a lot of draft people, Tyrese Maxey going as late as he does was considered criminal at the time. The guy absolutely should have been lottery, and in hindsight, he should have been the 4th pick in this draft. At #5 to the Cleveland Cavaliers, we have Patrick Williams. Now, from this point on in the draft, there's a very clear talent dip. Like, the top 4 players from this draft are clear. And for Patrick, he's still getting a lot of points off of potential. Because this draft class was just 2 years ago, we're not making selections entirely based on just what their career was, because we're only 2 years into it. Patrick still remains a large forward with really, really good defensive chops, shot creating ability, a decent catch and shoot game, pretty damn good finishing. There is a lot there to be developed. It's just a matter of his wiring and him actually being that kind of aggressive shot creator. But at the very least, I think Patrick Williams projects to be a OG Anunoby type of player, like all defensive caliber forward who is also like a 16 point per game guy and a decent playmaker and a pretty damn good shooter. It's just a matter of him actually going about reaching that potential. So there's a couple of guys on this draft following him who are better players than him right now. In fact, I would say 3 of them are definitely better. But I think if we're projecting 3-4 years from now, that's not necessarily the case. With the number 6 pick, the Atlanta Hawks take Desmond Bane. And man, I really just cannot think of a better fit next to Trae Young than Desmond Bane. Now, don't get me wrong. Desmond is the type of player that fits anywhere. There's no team that trades for Desmond Bane and are like, damn, are we sure we can fit him into our scheme? The guy's primarily a shooter, and those guys fit everywhere. But like, really, the best 2 to put next to Trae Young is a secondary shot creator, which is something that Desmond continues to develop and got really good at in his second year, getting up to 19 points per game, and a 3-point shooter, obviously, and a really good defensive player. Desmond Bane hits all the boxes you want for that 2 next to Trae Young, and I absolutely love that fit there. I personally believe Patrick Williams has a slightly higher ceiling, but as someone who loves Patrick Williams and loves Desmond Bane, because I had a whole video about Desmond, and Desmond is easily my best draft prediction in my entire YouTube career. If you wanted to take Desmond Bane over Patrick Williams, completely would not argue with you on that. I just personally am going to value that upside just a little bit more. With the number 7 pick, the Detroit Pistons select Cole Anthony. Another player where it was an absolute crime that he fell as low as he did. I believe he was the 14th or 13th pick in that year's draft. Cole Anthony, now a 19 point per game guy, a pretty good playmaker. You know, his efficiency is not always the best in the world. He can be a little inconsistent with his jump shot, but the guy is an absolute bucket and absolutely deserving of having been a top 10 pick. And I believe it was because he struggled in college that he didn't end up going as high as he was originally projected to be. I believe he was originally projected to be a top 5 pick, but Cole Anthony is still very much a good NBA player and a really good pick for the Pistons here at number 7. With the number 8 pick, the New York Knicks select Onyeka Okongwu. Onyeka is a really, really interesting player, and I really want to see him get more opportunity. We, of course, saw the breakout moment of his career was when he guarded Giannis in the Eastern Conference Finals, and he actually did a pretty damn good job. And that is because Onyeka, as a center prospect, is about as perfect for the modern day as it gets. He is both versatile on the perimeter defensively while being capable of being a pretty big body. Even though he's a little short, he's really physical, but he's also fast at the same time. Like, he's not physical just because he's fat and slow. Like, no, he can move his feet, he can body you up. He's kind of like an Al Horford type of prospect if I was going to compare him to anybody, but offensively he's shown signs of a jump shot, pretty good finishing inside, not making too many mistakes. The guy is just like textbook the kind of center you want in today's game, and I really hope he gets more opportunity going forward. I've kind of been hoping for the Hawks to trade Clint Capella and finally start him, but at the same time, there is a lot of room to grow with Onyeka. He's in a Patrick Williams type of tier where it's like, we have seen flashes of this potential, but we really need to actually see it come to be before we're really declaring him to be this guy. But I truly believe Onyeka's potential is good enough that he goes as high as he does in this draft. With the number 9 pick, the Washington Wizards select Jaden McDaniels. J-Mac remains one of my favorite and most underrated players in the league as a 6'9" to 6'10" forward who has long arms, is a really, really good perimeter defensive player, and even though he's kind of scrawny, has enough size that he can handle himself against some bigger players. And His length can also make up for it quite a bit. And then offensively, he's not the best in the world, but his jump shot is decent. At least it has a good form. The consistency of which it goes in is a little bit questionable, but also a really, really good athlete. Has shown even signs of being a mid-range shot creator at times. It's not something he goes to, but occasionally there's like a loose ball and Jaden's like, I'll just shoot it, and it goes in. And anytime I see him do it, the guy is definitely going to be one of the better like 3-and-D forwards in basketball. I almost see like, I don't want to make this direct comparison, but I kind of see like an Andre Karolinko type of thing there. Not to the fullest extent as a big Andre Karolinko guy, but definitely a very, very good defensive forward. And last but not least, this pick really could have gone to a lot of different players, but I ultimately decided for the 10th pick for the Phoenix Suns that I would go with Devin Vassell. To be completely honest, the Spurs are one of those teams that I've watched probably the least the last couple of years, but Vassell gives me a lot of Chris Middleton vibes. Obviously not to the fullest extent, otherwise he would be a higher touted prospect here. But there were a couple of names that I could have picked over Vassell, but I threw this list into my draft friend group. Again, I mentioned I'm just friends with a bunch of draft people, and that's how I get most of my draft information. And they mostly said that that would be the best option, but there were other options. But I only wanted to do a top 10 list because I feel like after 10, you're really starting to split hairs. Hell, there's quite a bit of splitting hairs here. But at number 10, Devin Vassell to the Phoenix Suns. But that is my redraft of the 2020 NBA draft. Again, I would like to make redrafts a series because they're pretty easy videos to make, and I also think they're really fun discourse-wise. If you disagree with my selections, or hell, if you want to put out your own list, feel free to do so, and drop a like on this video to encourage more of these videos to actually come out, because again, I really want to make this a series, but I need your support and I need the videos to actually do well in order to justify it. But with that said, shout out to Rudy for editing this video. That is the end of this video. Please be sure to like and subscribe for NBA content like this, and cue the outro music.